catch up. So again, my name is Ashley Hamilton. I'm one of the market growth managers here in Houston, Texas. We're excited to have Keystone with us today, and we are happy that you're able to join us to learn about your opportunity with selling our special needs plans. So today's course essentially is about the understanding of the basics of dual special needs plans, people who qualify for both Medicare and Medicaid, and then the purpose of this course is to provide information on how to sell these plans for special needs consumers under United Healthcare. So it's a good course for any agent who, wants a refresher on the foundations of what a dual special needs plan is, or for agents who start selling, these plans for the first time. So it's a great course for everyone. Like I said, the duration of it will be approximately 1 hour. Before we begin, I would just like to set the following expectations. We're going to keep everyone's lines quiet, so I do ask and encourage that you guys keep your lines muted, and then any questions that you have, I will get to those at the end of the call. And obviously be present and engaged. So first things first, I don't know if it's going to let me annotate, but we'll see. I always like to start off a training with some form of engagement. I am curious, for the few that are on the call today, what motivates you to learn about DSNP? Is it anything specific? You can put it in the chat. What encouraged you to want to learn more about it? Okay, big market, like that. Let's see if I can type it. Big market. Okay, it is. Year-round selling. That's another approach as well, right? You don't have to wait. Put that on here too. Ooh, okay, good one. Medicaid unwinding, also known as redetermination. Learning more about that. And any other? Okay, I think these are good ones. So I would like to address the bulk of these. So when it comes to the big market, yes, it's a huge market, right? A lot of people qualify for Medicaid, especially during this time and age. Things are a lot more expensive. Inflation is on the rise. And a lot of our seniors are on fixed incomes and don't know that they either qualify for Medicaid, full Medicaid, partial Medicaid, or even LIS, which isn't an LIS training, but it stands for low income subsidy, which helps with people prescription drugs. So there's that. So it is a big market. And I put on there year-round selling because I think that's a huge, huge advantage to selling dual special needs plans or any, but specifically dual special needs plans, because you do have 3/4 out of the year where essentially every 3 months a consumer can choose to change their plan. The fourth quarter of that year would have to be the AEP election, but they can technically enroll around that time too. So it really is a year-round selling approach, which is awesome. And then lastly, the Medicaid unwinding, also known as Medicaid redetermination, that affected a lot of folks. And it's something that, we at United Healthcare have acted very swiftly on as far as getting notifications out, letting the agent of record know that their consumers are either losing their Medicaid status altogether or going from full to partial. So there's a lot of nuances behind it. We aren't in the Medicaid or community plan space. That is a different department than Medicare and retirement, but essentially how Medicare and retirement is helping that space is by, spreading the word, letting folks know, call 211, make sure your credentials are up to date on, your health benefits or texasbenefits.com. So people are aware of, you know, what could be coming. I know it's kind of slowed down, to be honest. That was something that was more prevalent in 2023 than it is this year. So anybody that's lost their Medicaid or anybody that's Medicaid dropped from being full to partial has already taken place or should have already taken place by now. So at that point, it's our jobs as, licensed agents to educate that consumer on what that looks like for them. If they are on a product that will no longer pay for, the cost sharing that Medicaid typically paid for, that's our opportunity to then encourage them to be on either a non-SNP product, or in our case, we do have, if they went from full to partial, we do have a partial plan that we offer here in Harris County. So Harris-Fort Bend County. So lots of opportunities there, but thank you guys for the engagement, and we'll go ahead and move on. So again, thank you for sharing what excites you. I am happy to share 3 huge advantages of selling DSNP, in my opinion. Again, it's going to be that year-round selling opportunity, right? Having that special enrollment period, the DSNP LIS continuing enrollment period that allows them to re-enroll or to get into a different plan every 3 months. And then the last quarter of the year is the AEP election. So year-round sales opportunity means, again, residual income year over year. Also, like I mentioned, the DSNPs are not limited to a specific time. So again, you can enroll consumers year round, depending on who's eligible for that SEP. And well, I'll jump more into that so you guys can see a calendar of what that looks like. And then also the Net Promoter Score. It's an NPS score that is pretty much widely used amongst several large organizations, not just healthcare, but any business. That's a clear measure of an organization's performance through a customer's eyes. And the higher the score, the more positive impact we have on the members' lives. So currently for DSNP members, our NPS score is 78, and it's the highest of all of our United Healthcare products. Why is NPS important to you guys? Well, one, more referrals, right? Because members are excited to share their positive experience with the plan. Also customer loyalty and retention. They're not influenced to move around as much, right? Maybe they like their plans, so they're going to stick with it. They like the OTC healthy food utility benefit. They like the U card, so they'll stay around longer. And then quality of care, obviously one of the most important. And last but not least, we hear from agents on the field that one of the main reasons they enjoy selling in this market is that, DSNP members truly appreciate the plan and the benefits. It can be life-changing for some of these folks because they are on fixed incomes, and getting that additional 135 or 152 every month they can use for groceries or to help pay some utility bills is huge. And it's rewarding to work with them and know you're making a difference. So essentially one role of the agent is to help the consumer and members understand what we offer above original Medicare and then their state's Medicaid coverage, what benefits they don't have that they could get on our plan, on a dual special needs plan. So let's hear from one of our members, Renata. She's actually local to Houston. I'm going to play a short video. Hopefully there's sound. Let's make sure that that is good to go, and let's hear from Renata.
What United Healthcare, what the U card has done for me really was life-changing. It's a magic little
I'm sorry, that's my fault.
thing. I swipe it at the doctor, I swipe it at the grocery
Make
store.
sure this volume is up. Let's try it now. Sorry, the annotation's still on. Here we go. I'm gonna start it from the beginning.
What United Healthcare, what the U card has done for me really was life-changing. It's a magic little thing. I swipe it at the doctor, I swipe it at the grocery store. I eat tons of fresh fruits and vegetables now. It's all encompassing. It covers every kind of health care that I could need. I mean, the food, the medicine, it helps me so much.
Awesome. So that is one of our DSNP members. Her name is Renata. For Renata, using her United Healthcare U card is like magic. So from the grocery store to the doctor's office, you can see how the U card has been life-changing for her. That's awesome. Now we can start imagining the dual eligible consumer and how you, the agent, can help. So we're going to explore the agenda today. So what's on our agenda? We're going to talk about who are dual eligibles, what the sales opportunity is with our dual population. How do you start that sales conversation? Where are marketing opportunities and any next steps? So first things first, who are dual eligibles? Okay. So with the dual eligible member, there are several points to cover when dealing with the eligibility for DSNP. You must confirm that they have Medicare Part A and B. You have to confirm that the consumer is enrolled in both of those. And then also, you need to confirm that the consumer lives in the plan's service area. You can review the service area in the plan's enrollment kit for that plan year, okay? And then lastly, you must confirm that they have Medicaid and the acceptable level for the plan. And later in the session, I will show you the tool that will do just that. So let's dig into a bit more about the dual eligible consumer, keeping in mind that every consumer is unique, right? This is a very vulnerable population, but there are some trends to be aware of. 2 out of 5 eligible or dual eligible consumers times are 2 out of 5 are dual eligible consumers living with a disabling condition. They are 2 times more likely to have a mental health condition than those with just Medicare alone. Okay. Disabling conditions like chronic conditions, a human health condition or disease that is persistent or otherwise long lasting in its effects, or a disease that comes with time. Again, 2 times of them are likely to have a mental health condition than those with Medicare alone, and disproportionately have conditions like schizophrenia, other psychotic disorders, and drug, opioid, alcohol use disorders compared to traditional Medicare enrollees. Okay, so again, a very vulnerable population. There are 2 main categories of dual eligible consumers, i.e. those that are 65 and up, and then the ones that are under 65. While Medicare eligibility normally begins at age 65, 38% of DSNP eligible consumers are actually younger than that. 36% of DSNP consumers live alone. And most DSNP eligible consumers report an average income of $11,000. So let's park on that for a moment. Using the chat and thinking about the average annual income, what do you think could be a financial struggle for someone who may be in this average, right? Just thinking out loud of where we're at currently in our economy. Someone making only 11,000 a year. Do you think they could afford groceries? Do you think they may struggle paying their utility bills? Or even just healthcare in general, right? Going to a doctor, I'm sure would be, without having insurance would be tough. Obviously, them having Medicaid, they know that they typically don't have to pay anything when they go to these doctors. But what is important that you guys are educating these consumers on is the things that Medicaid does not pay for, these dual plans offer. And it's those extra benefits, or also known as ancillary benefits, right? Getting that healthy food, utility, OTC balance that they can use, or credit that they can use every month to help pay for groceries and help with the utility bill, transportation. Medicaid only covers so much transportation, right? Maybe they don't have the ability to go to a local gym because they can't afford it. Medicaid doesn't pay for gym memberships. So thinking about that is important. Thinking about dental, right? Dental's a huge one. With our traditional Medicare folks and with our dual eligibles, dental can be very expensive. And the bulk of our dual plans have an allowance of 3,000 and up. So that can help compensate or cover some of what Medicaid's not picking up of that, right? So thank you guys for the engagement there. And we'll move on. So what is the sales opportunity? Okay. This is going to be another whiteboard activity, okay? So what do you guys think, or how can explaining the benefits of a DSNP product help increase the sales opportunity? What do you think, just based on what I've told you so far? We haven't really gotten into product just yet, but based on the characteristics that you may know or have heard about DSNP plans, what do you guys feel would be, what benefits do you think would help increase your sales opportunity with a dual eligible? Oh, for sure, right? Food, utilities, dental. Yes, big ones. Those are definite big ones. I don't know if it's going to let me. Oh, it still has the same ones from last time. I don't know how to take them off. Okay, let's see. There we go. All right, so let's see. Food, dental is a big one. Transportation, yes, we know a very competitive carrier removed all of their transportation recently. And I know that there were brokers that were offering those plans to dual eligibles, even though that carrier does not technically have DSNP plans, but because of, them qualifying for Medicaid, they were able to get that, right? They were able to get maybe that premium product without necessarily having to pay for a premium. But if they take all the transportation away, how are they going to get to and from their doctor's appointments? That's huge, right? Transportation is a big one. Caregiver support, okay. Utilities. So these are all important, right? These are all great benefits to explain to a DSNP consumer because, again, they're only aware of how Medicaid covers the medical side of things. They're not aware of all the additional and extra benefits they get for just having Medicare, Medicaid. So thank you again for that engagement. These are really great points. And it's up to us essentially to educate the consumer on how the plan will work for them. This can help increase the consumer's confidence and build trust with you. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Oops, let's get out of this. I'm gonna go back and remove all of these real quick, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, thank you for that. All right, so again, we talked about some of these already, but again, we know that explaining these benefits is going to help increase that confidence that the consumer has in you as their agent. Also, we need to consider that consumers likely have unique plan needs based on their limited income and resources. We talked about this, right? With food, utilities, things like that. I mean, it could be very expensive right now. I feel like all of us are probably feeling inflation when it comes to going to the grocery store and seeing how expensive groceries are nowadays. One of I feel is a best practice tip when you're in these appointments with these consumers is to be in the habit of taking notes during your appointment because there will be a time gap until the consumer receives their notification or their letter from the state. So keep it in your notes to always follow up, right? You don't want that consumer calling a 1-800 number. You want them reaching out to a local agent. Also, an SEP, also known as a special election period, may be available due to the consumer's eligibility for a DSNP, having both Medicare and Medicaid. And think about your role and how you can leverage what you do, your strengths when explaining the plan. All right. So, using the chat, again, we're very, very engaged. We're a small group, okay? Have you heard of the SCP dual LIS maintaining? Are any of you guys familiar with what that election period is? And you can just put yes or no in the chat. Have you used it before? No. Ooh, okay. Anyone heard of it? Okay, so what makes this SCP awesome? Right? You guys may only be aware of maybe the disaster related SCPs, which usually has to do with some form of natural disaster that took place in a particular area, state, if you will, or specific counties. So essentially what this election period is, dual LIS maintaining election period is an election period that allows a consumer with both Medicare and Medicaid or a consumer that qualifies for LIS and has LIS to be able to use that election once per calendar quarter for 3 quarters. And then for Q4, they would use the AEP election. So that's what allows DSNP consumers to be enrolled year round. I'll repeat that because I just want to make sure we have that clear. The dual LIS maintaining special election period are for folks that have both Medicare and Medicaid that qualify for dual plans, as well as consumers that qualify and have LIS, which is a low income subsidy to help with the cost of prescription drugs. With this election period, these consumers are eligible to enroll 3 quarters out of the year using this election period once per calendar quarter. So essentially every 3 months. I say 3 quarters out of the year because once it's AEP election period, you would have to use AEP. Dual LIS maintaining is an election period that's only available the first 3 quarters of the year. Okay? So again, when I say it's a year-round selling opportunity, that's what I mean, right? They can essentially, enroll year-round. And then if they have a status change, essentially what that is going to be like Medicaid unwinding, like we talked about earlier, or it's also known as Medicaid redetermination. If they lost their Medicaid, they will have an SEP to be able to enroll year-round. And then as well as if they if there was a status change, right? They went from having Q and B to now they're only Slim B, which Q and B is full Medicaid, Slim B is partial Medicaid. Or vice versa. They went from partial Medicaid to qualifying for full Medicaid. Okay. Again, this is one election per calendar quarter. It's not a monthly SEP. So once they use it for the quarter, they can't if they want to move to a different product, they can't do that until the following quarter. Okay. So if you enrolled them for say you enrolled somebody today and they're March 1st effective for our dual product, they will not be eligible to re-enroll, say they don't like the plan or they want a plan with, more benefits, what have you, more plan extras. They would not be able to re-enroll until April, which really that's only 30 days for some folks. But if you enroll them at the beginning of the quarter, then they would have to wait 3 months. before they can re-enroll again. Correct. They can go from one carrier to another. That happens often. I will say that because of our retention, usually if they're on our dual plans, they stick on them. Our dual plans are very competitive. We have over 51% market share when it comes to our dual plans. So they're not bouncing around as much, but to that point of what was put in the chat, they can go from one carrier to another. And that does happen very often. Again, as a reminder, it does not apply to Q4, meaning AEP, because Q4 is in October through December. So consumers must use the AEP election or another election period if eligible. And obviously the consumer must have Medicaid or LIS to qualify for this election period. They may enroll in a new plan or disenroll from a plan. All right. So let's have some fun with two scenarios about election periods. Meet Mavis. She enrolled in a United Healthcare DSNP plan effective January 1, 2024. In June 2024, she wants to change to a different United Healthcare DSNP plan. She did not have any changes to her Medicaid status. Can Mavis change her plan? If so, what would the election be? Like we talked about, SCP would be dual LIS maintaining because Mavis can change her plan anytime during the second calendar quarter, April, May, and June, unless she has already changed plans in the second calendar quarter, because remember, they only have one election per quarter. Okay? Now let's meet Charles. Charles became eligible for Medicaid and recently received a notification that he is now fully dual eligible, effective June 1st, 2024. Charles is enrolled in an MAPD. That stands for Medicare Advantage Prescription Drug Plan, for those that don't know. Does Charles have an SCP available to use to enroll into a DSNP plan? Let me see if anyone knows the answer to this. You can put it in the chat. Not a problem. I'll repeat it. Charles became eligible for Medicaid and recently received a notification in the mail from the state that he is now fully dual eligible, effective June 1st, 2024. Charles is currently enrolled in a non-SNP MAPD plan. Okay. Does Charles have an SEP available to use to enroll into a DSNP plan? If you answered yes, you are correct. And what election period can he use? SEP dual LIS status change. Okay. All right. You need to explain to the consumer that if they lose their Medicaid status, some things will change. I've talked about this before in the bulk of my DSNP trainings, but I really want to reiterate this and make sure that you guys are aware. If a dual eligible member loses his or her Medicaid eligibility, the member can remain enrolled in the dual eligible special needs plan for a period of continued eligibility, which is often called the grace period. The grace period can vary in length from 1 to 6 months, but it is generally 6 months for most dual eligible special needs plans. Some states have shorter grace periods. In addition, a special election period is available for dual eligible members that lose their Medicaid eligibility. This SEP begins the month they are notified by the plan of the loss of Medicaid eligibility and ends when they enroll into a different Medicare Advantage Part D plan, or 3 months after they have been disenrolled from the dual eligible special needs plan, whichever is earlier. Okay? Please note that dual eligible special needs plan members that are in the grace period due to the loss of Medicaid and QMB eligibility will be responsible for paying their Medicare Part A and B cost sharing. So what exactly does that mean, Ashley? That means if you have a client who lost their Medicaid and they're currently on a DSNP product, maybe our dual complete HMO, and they lost their Medicaid completely during Medicaid unwinding or redetermination, they received a letter from the state that says your Medicaid is terminated as of, March 1st. We're in February 9th. Medicaid will still reimburse United Healthcare for administering the DSNP plan through March 1st. Once March 1st hits, Medicaid is no longer reimbursing United Healthcare to administer benefits to the plan. So what does that mean for the member? Technically, they're in their grace period, right? Because we said the grace period is 6 months. So they can still be on the plan, technically. However, the date, once the state says they are no longer covering Medicaid for this consumer, once that date has surpassed and they're no longer reimbursing United Healthcare to administer these plan benefits to the DSNP plan, the member will be responsible for all cost sharing. That means they will get bills, all cost sharing towards paying their Medicare Part A and Part B. So essentially, they will no longer have, they would essentially be responsible for 20% going forward. So it's never wise to leave a consumer on a DSNP plan who no longer has Medicaid. If they're in their grace period, essentially that just keeps them from being automatically disenrolled from the plan. However, they will receive bills because the state is no longer reimbursing United Healthcare for any of those bills. The only reimbursement we would get would be from Medicare. And as we know, Medicare only pays 80%. So the member who is a Medicaid consumer or has a Medicaid lifestyle and income would then be receiving a ton of bills. We recommend, since they have an SCP, to re-enroll. Once they lose their Medicaid, you need to put them on a non-SNP Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan because it's a lot better having set copays than being responsible for 20% period until they're moved into a plan, or maybe they get, their Medicaid reinstated. But I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that although there is a grace period, once Medicaid says this is the date that you'll no longer have Medicaid and they're still on a DSNP plan, they will be responsible for all cost sharing for paying their Medicare A and B, aka the 20% going forward. Okay. All right. So now that I'm off my podium there from that, I just want to make sure people know that, because some people think, oh, it's a grace period. Even the plan says they don't have any cost sharing. It's all zeros down the board. The plan says they'll still pay, all of their medical, core medical, and their dental and all of that. But just be aware that once we stop receiving reimbursement from the state, that essentially the only reimbursement we're getting is from traditional Medicare, which we know traditional Medicare only picks up 80% after a deductible, right? So yeah, the member would be responsible for 20% going forward until you move them to a non-SNP, meaning a non-special needs plan, a straight traditional MAPD, HMO, PPO, whichever one makes sense. I would recommend an HMO because those have the lowest cost sharing. Until you move them, they will be receiving bills. And depending on how sickly they are, that is not a situation to put your client in. The client will be receiving letters from the state, as well as you as the agent of record will be receiving notifications and emails and all the things notifying you that this client is losing their Medicaid come this date. The state gives us the date. We then notify both the member as well as the agent of record, and the state is notifying the member. So if you have one of those clients that likes to throw out their mail, I would highly recommend that you encourage them to keep up with that stuff. They can call 211 and try and get their Medicaid reinstated. If they're past the point of Medicaid covering their Medicaid benefits, then they will, if they do use their plan, you have to let them know to expect to receive bills in the mail because they no longer have Medicaid. Okay. All right. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding that, so I'll get to them towards the end because I want us to be good on time. And we still have plenty of slides left. All right. So we're going to take some time to talk about some of our potential members, okay? We're going to look at where they live, any limitations, their goals, and challenges. In the chat, let's all discuss what you can introduce in the sales conversation when you hear these challenges, okay? This is Tom. Meet Tom. He is age 75 and he lives in his own home. He has Medicare A and B and Medicaid through his state. His diabetes is stable, but he also has COPD. He wants to stay in his home. Being independent is being healthy and independent is an important goal for Tom. Okay. His challenges are the confusion he feels when multiple health insurance cards and limited natural support to help him figure out his insurance. What is something you could start the sales conversation with when introducing a DSNP to Tom? And you can input your thoughts in the chat. Here's a possibility, right? This plan brings more than Medicare and Medicaid alone. What is something that our DSNP plan offers that Tom could benefit from? The U card, because the U card is an all-in-one card and he won't have multiple cards to have to worry about. He just has one card that he can use for his dental, he can use for his medical, he can use for his healthy food OTC utility benefit, he can use for his gym membership, he can use for his hearing, his vision, all of it. Okay. All right. This is Nicole. Everyone meet Nicole. Nicole is 70 years old. She lives in a low-income housing community. She has Medicare A and B and Medicaid through her state. She has diabetes and has a pacemaker. Despite these limitations, she wants to stay healthy, see her family often, and stay active. Her challenges are not having cost-saving incentives, and she doesn't have a plan to minimize the decline in health, okay? So I'll ask again, what is something you could start the sales conversation with when introducing a DSNP to Nicole? Let's see, someone was brave. Okay, I thought someone put something in the chat. All right, what you could say, I understand you have Medicare and Medicaid today. Yet what I hear is people in a similar situation who have Medicare and Medicaid could use a lot more benefits. This is an insurance plan and more. Something that the DSNP plan offers that Nicole could benefit from could be the food, OTC, and utility benefit, right? It can help obviously pay for any over-the-counter things that she needs for her diabetes. It can help if she's trying to stay healthy, the U card benefit or the DSNP plan benefit of having free gym membership. YMCA is included in that local membership, as well as other gyms like Lifetime and what else? Orange Theory, Planet Fitness, there's a ton of them. So those are all selling points that you can use when you're having that sales conversation with Nicole. All right. And lastly, meet John. John is age 35. He lives in an assisted living facility. He has both Medicare A and B and Medicaid through his state. He has a physical disability and has suffered multiple strokes. He wants to avoid health complications such as infections and wounds. He has little family help with his care, and complex services are often uncoordinated. Okay? And we talked about this as being one of the benefits of DSNP products, right? Caregiver support, having a care coordinator. That is something that he could definitely benefit from on our DSNP plans. Here's something that you can say in that sales conversation. Most people I talk to could use some help in at least one of these areas, if not multiple. Care for their whole body, dental, foot care, etc. Improved access to care, maybe having a wider network or wider range of facilities they can go to, transportation or virtual visits, programs to improve quality of life, such as emergency or post-discharge meal programs, hearing aids, etc. A benefit that the DSNP plan offers that could help John would be our care management model. Our care management model is why we ask that you guys and incentivize you guys by giving you a $75 payment. They're called health risk assessments. I'm sure you may have heard of them. HRAs. Once you complete the HRA, essentially it allows us to be able to assess that client's level of risk, low, medium, high. And depending on their level of risk will be dependent on what type of care management model that client will receive. So it helps with treatment options and it helps get John the care that he needs. Okay. So how does an agent impact the consumer's choice of plans? Because believe me, especially in Houston, there's plenty to choose from. Communicating to dual eligible consumers clearly about how a DSNP is designed to help them is critically important. Nearly half cannot identify extra help. Members who do not understand their plan are more likely to be unhappy with their plan and less likely to recommend those plans to others. Although most dual eligible members rate their plan as the best health plan, they also have 15 to 21% higher frustrations with their plan than the non-dual members. It's not surprising though, because those members who are unhappy are at risk of leaving the plan, with disabled duals under 65 being the most at risk. One of the factors in dual member satisfaction is how the insurer helped the member use their coverage. Over 40% of our dual members said a health insurance representative assisted them the most with Medicare coverage information. Oops. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there. And over 80% had a personal connection with an agent. Agents who form a personal connection with dual members help increase member loyalty. Once you start your conversation with the consumer and they express their needs in a plan, Medicare and Medicaid eligibility should be checked to see if you can offer a plan that fits their needs. With a yes or no in the chat, have you explored the Medicare Medicaid eligibility tool on Jarvis? No. Well, I'm hoping after this training you will do so because it is extremely, extremely valuable. Okay. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but United is like no other when it comes to agent tools. Okay. You can look up Medicare eligibility in real time. You can also look up Medicaid eligibility in real time, which is what we're going to go over today. All right. United Healthcare makes it easy to verify Medicare and Medicaid status. The Medicare-Medicaid eligibility lookup tool on Jarvis allows you to determine Medicare and Medicaid eligibility for consumers and members. Medicaid searches also provide a list of plans available for enrollment. So essentially, it lets you know if that consumer has already used their election, that SCP dual LIS maintaining election period for that quarter. Okay. If you encounter any issues or have questions, the PhD is your friend and it remains a available, valuable resource to you. Review the Jarvis Medicare Medicaid eligibility lookup tool job aid for instructions on how to use the tool. Quite honestly, you don't really need it. It's very straightforward. You can also call the producer help desk to verify Medicaid status, but it's a lot easier and again, user-friendly, and you can do it yourself using the Medicare Medicaid eligibility tool. You will need to gather some information, right? So as you can see here, you obviously will know the state. You'll need to have the zip code, the consumer's first and last name, their date of birth, the proposed effective date, as well as their Medicaid number, and the Medicare number is optional, all right? You would just click yes when it asks if you have permission to verify that consumer's Medicaid status. And then once you click yes, it will show you what level of Medicaid that consumer has. All right. This is an example of what a result may come up as. So as you see, we're looking at John Smith. John Smith and his Medicaid number of 1,000,000 zeros. And it does show that he has used the quarterly maintaining dual LIS maintaining election period. It shows you what level of LIS he has. It also shows you what level, or I'm sorry, it shows you his Medicaid level as well, which QMB in our market is full Medicaid. And then it will tell you the plans. These are not applicable to our market. These are not our plans. This is just an example, okay? But that's what it shows you. A lot of valuable information. Even you can even provide, sometimes the member doesn't have their Medicaid number, but you may know their MBI, so you can use that and it will show you its eligibility, and you can provide the member with their Medicaid number so they can have it, okay? So it's really, really helpful. I hope that you guys, when you start selling D-SNP plans, are using this and using it often because it will help you out. Okay. All right, let's move on. After eligibility is determined, you have located a plan of interest with the consumer. You should confirm the consumer's doctors, prescriptions, and the facilities that they go to are all in the dual eligible special needs plans network, okay? With us, that should not be a hard thing to find out. We have a massive network of over 1,000,000 providers nationwide, okay? So verifying doctors should be the easy part. We also have a large formulary, okay? But you want to make sure, because all prescription drugs are covered, no matter the tier level, at a $0 copay for our DSNP consumers, you want to verify that they are on the plan's formulary. If they are not on the plan's formulary, then they are not covered at a $0 copay because they're not covered, period. However, there are such things such as plan exceptions and things that can be made for that consumer if that is the case, right? It's a case-by-case situation, but you want to verify that all the prescription drugs that consumer takes are located on the formulary, as well as you verified that all the doctors are in the network, okay? Please make sure you guys are using Jarvis for this. I know that everybody has third-party tools that they like to use, but if you're not able to locate the doctors or the prescriptions on the third-party tool that you may be using, go to the source of truth, come to Jarvis, and just double, triple check that what you're showing on one platform is also showing on the other platform before enrolling. Just a tip for the wise, okay? Another program that most agents are unaware about, because I was going to ask if you've ever heard of SGRP, but I would almost guess that 100% of you have not. So what is it? The service is wonderful. It's to help our DSNP members with Medicaid recertification and help them reapply annually. So it's a program that we use a third party by the name of BenLink or Benelink. They can also assist our United Healthcare Medicare members apply for a wide variety of programs that will help address their financial or social needs, things like housing assistance, things like food stamps, all that. We consider the whole person, not just the medical care. So this program is great for those consumers that, again, are members or pre-effective consumers, meaning they're not members just yet, but we can help them, reapply for Medicaid if they lost their Medicaid, or recertify. We can help them address any health disparities they may have, help improve overall health and well-being of these members in vulnerable populations. So the Social and Government Referral Program, again, is available to help United Healthcare Medicare Advantage members get more for their Medicare dollar by connecting members with resources that they may be eligible for, like food, housing, transportation, and financial stability. But again, this program isn't limited to members. We can help pre-effective consumers too. So this SGRP program can assist pre-effective United Healthcare consumers with low income subsidy. Even though you as the agent may want to help the member do the LIS application to help retain and strengthen that relationship with that consumer. But if you would like to utilize this program, you can. If they need help reapplying for Medicaid, you can use this program, Medicare savings programs, social assistance. Essentially, it's a simple two-step process to screen, and then you complete the warm transfer. Okay. There's a job aid for this. If it would be helpful, you can locate it in Jarvis under Knowledge Center and Learning Lab under Social and Government Referrals Program to better understand the details of how this program may help you and your members. It has the phone number that you can use as well for current United Healthcare members, as well as members or consumers that are not United Healthcare members yet. There's a line for them as well, so two separate numbers. You can also find a flyer on Jarvis under Knowledge Center, under the Member Experience, under DSNP, and it's under Redetermination Communications. You can share that with members as well. It's consumer facing. All right. Up to this point, we discussed the benefits of having a DSNP, the sales opportunity, how to start the sales conversation. But I'm sure you are wondering how I get out there in my market and start selling to this demographic. Where do I go? I'm sure you all have heard the term centers of influence. Your centers of influence are individuals or organizations who can boost your market access and credibility through referrals, testimonials, and word of mouth. They may be clients that you have worked with before, or companies that you have partnered with in the past, or even groups that you met at an expo. They are generally well-known, well-respected entities who can connect you with the groups you are needing to be involved with to grow your business. So you want to look for those centers of influence, whether it's a church, whether it's a food bank. You want to develop those relationships with professionals and centers of influence in your community to grow your network. All right, speaking of food banks. Food banks are distribution centers for free food to low-income individuals, which include food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. Every food bank is going to be a little different. For example, some offer food boxes on a daily, weekly, or monthly. It is important to check the schedules and coordinate with the staff if possible. You can go on www.foodpantries.org. It's a great website to find not only the food banks, but also the exact locations where food is given out. Remember that not all food banks themselves work directly with the people who need the food. Sometimes they distribute the food to food pantries and soup kitchens. Okay. So, out of curiosity, what do you guys think you should do prior to going to a food bank? I would say research the center, right? Make sure it's in your target demographic and it's in the area that you want to work in. And find out who, again, their customer is, that target demographic. Who should you ask for when you arrive at the food bank? Either the program director or the program organizer, okay? And then what sales events could you suggest at the food bank? You can suggest a pop-up table, an ask the agent table where consumers can walk up to your table and ask questions about Medicare. You can do a community meeting where you teach, almost like a Medicare seminar where you teach about Medicare, or you may teach about DSNP specifically, and then an educational meeting, which is very similar. One is sales, one is not. So if they don't want any sales activity happening, then you may want to stick to the educational meetings. And if you get permission, you can leave consumer-facing flyers. And just make sure those flyers obviously are up to date. Anything that you use on the United Healthcare Toolkit has already been approved by CMS. So make sure that if you are creating a flyer yourself, that you reach out to Keystone and make sure they have that CMS approved for you. Or you can go the easier route, which the route is that I'm going to recommend, is that you go into Jarvis under the UHC agent toolkit and you create your own or customize your flyer with your information. And there's plenty of decent flyers on the toolkit for you to use that promote that healthy food OTC utility benefit. Another facility is low-income housing, also called affordable housing, housing for individuals or families with low incomes. You can search online what affordable housing is near you. A great website to use is going to be www.lowincomehousing.us. You can research what is near you, research the area and the community. Again, it's another situation where you should ask when you arrive at this low income housing community, you should ask for the social coordinator or an activities director because they have a certain number of activities that they have to set up every month. So you can coordinate with them times for you to come in, and best times to schedule events are when residents pay their rent or when mail is picked up. I know sometimes people do bingos out there. So make sure to ask the property manager about these times and try and coordinate activities during those times or during holidays, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Grandparents' Day. Those are all really cool and fun ways to engage with the community. Again, the types of sales events you can have there, you can do educational or community meetings, and ask the agent table, or you can do a bingo, do some form of a birthday celebration. So depending on what type of low income housing community it is, if it's like a senior living facility where again they're having to do events for their residents anyway, you can ask to be a part of that calendar and maybe schedule some events around certain holidays so you can increase the attendance. Another great centers of influence would be organizations dedicated to fighting poverty, right? Those local soup kitchens, local businesses often have charitable activities which you can be a part of. If you want to get involved in helping needy families in your community, a good place to start is with your local schools or religious organizations. Okay? So the first thing I would suggest is do your homework, right? What is this organization about? If it's a mega church, get an idea of things that they already do in the community, what areas that they target, if your target demographic is within those areas, okay? You should again ask for the social coordinator or activities director. And here are just some tips when building those relationships. Remember, you want to communicate and explain who you are and what your intentions are. You want to listen to understand what that organization does and who their client is. Understand your role. If the organization has certain guidelines to follow, be respectful of that. Respect people's time, set up a meeting or appointment to discuss your intentions, and stay connected. Share your contact information, trade emails, make sure that they hear from you, and you make pop-in visits, maybe bring them some donuts. So there's always ways, small ways that don't break the bank where you can really grow that relationship. So there are many ways to find dual eligible consumers. This is a small list of opportunities you have in your own market. Again, I talked about this already, but if you are in need of DSNP marketing materials, this is where you'll find it in the United Healthcare Agent Toolkit. Okay, it's awesome. It's like an Amazon for all things marketing. You can type in DSNP in the search bar, and it will show you all of the DSNP related materials. Some are free, some have a cost associated with them. However, um, I highly recommend checking it out if you have events coming up where you're really trying to grow your DSNP population. Okay. Also, it's really neat. You can customize it with your information, your headshot, your email, your agency name, phone number. It can all be customized, which is really nice. And again, they're already CMS approved materials, so you don't need to go through that process when using any marketing materials from our toolkit. These are some examples of things that you can find within the toolkit. Thank you cards, relationship letters, greeting cards, any contact information flyers, newsletters, and business card magnets, which are super popular. And I'm sure you've probably seen the ones that are on the sides of cars. That one is also available in the toolkit as well. On this slide, I wanted to show some samples of event tables agents have used for community meetings in retail. From what we discussed on the previous slide, you have many resources available to you in the toolkit to create your own table. All right. So, what are your next steps? Well, um, who on this call is already certified to sell our DSNP plans? Awesome. Anyone else certified to sell DSNP? Great question. I'm glad you asked so I could tell the entire group. You can check if you're certified to sell DSNP within your Jarvis. So when you log into Jarvis and you'll see your name on the top right, you're going to click on your name. You'll see a button that says Manage Profile. When you go and click that button, you will see your certifications and it will show you all the certifications you've completed within your tenure with us. It will show which ones have been completed for 2024, 2023, and so forth. So that's the way you confirm. All right. It's okay if you're not certified. I hope that that would be your next step after this training today is to get certified to sell our DSNP plans because that is required to be able to sell. Okay. The DSNP certification, I believe, is only 17 questions, maybe 15. It's a dual certification and chronic. So it actually knocks out both special needs plans in one certification. And again, it's only about 15 to 17 questions. Should take you about less than 30 minutes. It is open book style, just like the rest of our certifications are. So you can use the study guide as you're taking the exam. All right. Another step you want to make sure you're doing is to start learning the DSNP plans that are available in your market by using the Medicare product portfolio on Jarvis. This tool is an agent-facing tool that can help gain knowledge on the plans available in your market. There's also local support option to provide the contact information for your sales leader. However, if you're on the call with me today, I should be your sales leader, so you can connect with me if you have any individual um, strategies that you want to do and you want to partner, maybe co-op with Keystone where we can get you plugged in. I know Michael is really engaged in DSNP community activities and is trying to grow that in Houston, Michael Lang. So if you guys are ready to get the ball running with that, connect with me, make sure we get those events filed for you, and we can help in any way that we can. I won't spend too much time on this because we already are a little bit over the hour, but I did want to get you a visual of what our DSNP plans look like in Houston. You can also see this on the Medicare product portfolio that we just talked about. Like I said, our DSNP portfolio in Houston, we have over 51% market share. So although there's lots of competitors and lots of shiny toys and noise out in the field, United Healthcare is still number one, the largest Medicare Advantage insurer. We also are, again, we own about 51% market share, 51.2, if to be exact, market share of the DSNPs in Houston. So we take that accolade very seriously. We really do try and invest in our DSNPs every year. Fortunately, with the CMS cuts, with reimbursement being cut to Medicare Advantage plans, there were some partial cuts made on some of our plans, but overall, they're still very strong and competitive against other plans out in the market. If you're looking at this and you're confused by why there's a zero and then there's, a dollar amount hyphenated right next to it, because this is not showing someone that's on the enrollment kit, it's going to have two columns. It will have a column for full duals and it will have a column for people that are partial. People that are partial only have partial Medicaid, so they don't get full Medicaid benefits, which means they will be responsible for some cost sharing. There are certain plans where it benefits them to be partial, like our partial dual plan, the V01P. And there's certain plans where it does not benefit them to be partial, like our core dual plan, the dual complete HMO D002. I only recommend putting folks on this product if they have full Medicaid. Although you can see here that we accept partial Medicaids, we do not recommend that because they will have cost sharing, they will have a premium, they will have a MOOP, they will have 20% co-insurance, and as you can see, that whopping inpatient hospital stay per admission. So we don't recommend that. If they have partial Medicaid, maybe Slim B, QI, QDWI. Slim B plus is still considered full Medicaid. However, Slim B is partial. If they are partial Medicaid and they live in Harris or Fort Bend County, we would recommend V01P. That plan is going to be the most competitive for our partial duals. And then as far as our full duals, they have two options for full Medicaid products. They have the D002, which is going to be the big network, our massive network. And then they also have the D01P, which used to be known as Dual Ally. This one's going to be a limited network product. They have stars next to these two products because these two products are accepted within Kelsey-Seybold clinics. For any of you Kelsey Care Advantage fans on this call, as you know, Kelsey Care does not offer dual plans. However, with our acquisition with Kelsey, they are accepting two of our dual plans. So if you do have that client that's a diehard Kelsey fan that maybe wants a bit more flexibility outside of just going to Kelsey and they qualify for both Medicare, Medicaid, and they're full Medicaid, I would recommend this product. If they are not full Medicaid, I would recommend the partial product. As you can see here, they're all very competitive. If they're full Medicaid, it'll be zeros down the board. If they're not, you're looking at the right side, okay? The things that make these plans special are going to be the extra benefits. So as you can see, they get quite a bit in hearing aid allowances every year across most plans. They have access to a Renew Active Fitness program, which is free gym membership. And then the big benefit that everyone loves, and is the reason why our DSNPs are number one in the market, has to do with the Healthy Food OTC Utilities combined credit. So it's an allowance they get every single month. They have to use it or lose it. They can choose how they want to use that money. There's flexibility with that. So if they want to use it all on groceries, a portion of it on groceries, and some of it to help pay a utility bill, they have full freedom to use that money how they see fit. They are not allotted to have a certain allowance towards a certain thing like other carriers, okay? Some carriers followed that trend of ours. We were the trendsetter in that department. Now you may notice some carriers are allowing, that allowance to be used more freely. However, there are some that still make it to where they can only use $75 for food and $50 for utilities or whatever. But it is a combined credit that a member can use however they see fit, but they must use the full amount because it does not roll over. I repeat, it does not roll over. So just make sure they're aware they have to use the full amount. And as you can see, our DSNP plans do have transportation at a $0 copay. Okay. I will mention here for this limited network product, the D01P, we did add Memorial Hermann to the provider specific plan network. So for specialty groups, what's covered or who's in network are going to be Kelsey-Seybold clinics, WellMed, and Memorial Hermann. Okay. So it's made that network a lot bigger. So I wouldn't rule it out. I would definitely have it as a plan of choice in your market. And then the last plan at the end here is a regional plan, or it's not a regional plan, but it's an HMO option that's available in these counties. As you can see, this is characteristically like a regional plan based on the amount of counties, but I would only offer this HMO product in the event that these products are not available for your client service area. Maybe they are rural and they only have the regional PPO as an option. Now for 2024, they should have an HMO option because we added a more expansion county dual HMO to the market for 2024. Any changes across our dental plan is minimal, but the biggest change, the allowances themselves didn't change. You can see, like I said, our dental plans go upwards to $3,500, depending on the plan of a comprehensive dental allowance, and it covers dentures, bridges, most comprehensive services. The only thing it does not cover are going to be implants. Implants, unfortunately, for 2024 are no longer covered across all of our dental plans. All right. So I encourage you guys to continue to expand your knowledge with our dual eligibles. There is a DSNP on-demand training that reiterates a lot of the things that we went over today. You can find it in Jarvis under Knowledge Center under Learning Lab, the same place where you take your certifications every year. You would just go to your content library. You can type in DSNP, type in dual, and you will see the dual special needs training listed there. Okay, call to action. We are wrapping up. Training sessions, right? If this is your first dual training ever, I would encourage you to continue to take more. Even using that on-demand training that we talked about this just a slide ago, using Learning Lab to learn more about dual eligibles, going through Jarvis and finding all the different resources that are there. Any of you guys that have questions about redetermination, there are resources, example letters that were sent out to give you more clarification on that. So you can just type in redetermination in your search bar in Jarvis and you'll see plenty of materials on that. Use the toolkit for marketing materials if you're going to start doing some community events. Create goals of how many DSNPs you want to sell in a year, and just continue to understand and research your market. Make sure you know where they are. Make sure you know exactly what they need, right? If the key thing is dental or if the key thing is transportation, and you know that's the number one thing that you're getting feedback from these dual eligibles, make sure you lead with that. Make sure you lead that United Healthcare has, dual special needs plans that have those benefits. So also business plans. Have a business plan in mind of how you want to tackle this market. Again, it's a very vulnerable population. It's a population that can be enrolled year-round, which means they can re-enroll year-round. So just because they're on a different dual MAPD doesn't mean that you're not able to educate them about United Healthcare and what United Healthcare offers, because as you know, they could be eligible to re-enroll in a few months. So that is the end of this training. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hang in there with me. I was hoping to be done in an hour, but it looks like we went about 15 over. It's kind of extensive, but let me get to the chat here and see if there's anything that I missed.
I don't think you did.
Okay, is it the full amount first or is it 50/50? Is that referring to dental? Okay, yeah, so it's first dollar coverage, so no waiting periods. They receive that full 3,000 or 3,500 as soon as, the plan's effective date. Okay. So I'm going to put in the chat a document I think will be helpful if it allows me to. It will have plan comparisons for all of our products, not just DSNPs, but I encourage you guys to use this. It's helpful when figuring out our new plan names and also, looking at those plan comparisons like we just did. They are actually located on that PDF. So just put it in the chat for everyone to be able to download. Any other questions that I wasn't able to get to? Oh, there's another one about, I bet this has to do with the grace period or loss of Medicaid. So UHC does not move them, no. Now we notify them several different ways, as well as the state notifies them as well, and we notify the agent of record. If they call United Healthcare, because technically when we send them notification, there is a phone number for them to call United Healthcare to be, if they need assistance or if they want to re-enroll or what have you. If they call that number, it should go directly to our telesales department. And if telesales determines that their Medicaid is no longer active and they need to be moved to a non-SNP product, then as long as they're speaking to United Healthcare and speaking to, when I say United Healthcare, I mean true United Healthcare, not a representative of United Healthcare, then the AOR will retain because they will switch them to a plan that is a non-SNP since they no longer qualify for Medicaid. And since it was moved by a telesales rep, that ARR status would be retained because they don't receive renewals. Okay. But you also, as the AOR, will be notified as well. There's actually a notification bell in Jarvis now that sends notifications. We used to send them out via secure messaging, via email, but not everybody has secure messaging set up on their Outlook and not everybody checks their emails. So we inputted a new feature in Jarvis where that notification bell is next to your name on your Jarvis homepage that will actually notify you when these folks are losing their Medicaid, if you enrolled them on a CSNP and we still don't have their chronic condition verification form on file, verifying that they actually have either diabetes or heart disease to qualify for the plan. So all those things we will notify you of in Jarvis. I'm trying to see if I missed any. Is it if they let's see. All right. Oh, it's okay. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the engagement. I hope y'all took a lot away from this training. If you were at Rudy's training recently, I hope this complemented it because I know he talked a lot about community and community outreach and, being engaged and creating events and being creative. So this is really more focused towards DSNP, but I hope that it was helpful. And you can always get with me or your upline if you have any additional questions. And I appreciate you guys all being here.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Y'all both sound super